Michael Schumacher has weighed up many opponents. Jacques Villeneuve is his latest challenge. Villeneuve confirmed early expectations with victories in Brazil and Argentina. With pressure on, Schumacher responded with a decisive victory at a wet Monaco, giving him the points lead. Villeneuve refocused in Spain as he took the pole and cruised to his third victory of the year, regaining control of the championship. Michael's progress was majestic, while Jacques disappointed both his fans and himself. In Montreal, Schumacher's victories in Canada and France put him back on top. 14 points separate the two men as they line up for today's Grand Prix. Welcome to Silverstone, to the home of the British Grand Prix. I'm John Watson, and I hope you're going to enjoy my Grand Prix. 60 laps of this revised 3.194 circuit, and it ought to be stunning. Silverstone, of course, right in the heart of England, in Northamptonshire, 100 miles north of London. Today, 120,000 people will populate this tiny village just for that one day. Jonathan Green, please tell us about it.
Well, John, here in Silverstone, the expression normal service has been resumed is quite apt. And what we mean by that is that Williams are 1 and 2 on the grid again. But their party could be ruined by Mercedes and McLaren, with Mika Hakkinen third on the grid. We believe that they've chosen to go on the softer compound, while both Ferrari and Williams are on the harder Goodyear compound. But watch out for Michael Schumacher going into the new revised Cops. He's always been good on starts. But he'll also have his brother, Ralf Schumacher, in the Jordan right behind him. Should be a cracking start here at Silverstone.
Thanks, Jonathan. Well, once again, it's my pleasure to introduce Derek Bell in the commentary booth alongside me. And Derek, this championship battle really warming up.
Yes, it really is. Following some superb performance early in the season, Jacques Villeneuve was a full 1.5 seconds faster than the opposition. It appeared a foregone conclusion that he would be the 1998 world champion. Since then, Jacques' performance has been questioned. Maybe the Williams flatters the drivers, some say. But I believe the pressure has really increased during the season due to his leading the World Championship. Naturally, the press go to him for quotes. Like most drivers, he has strong opinions. His honest opinions led him into trouble with the FIA. Since then, the media won't leave him alone. This detracts from his concentration. Poor performances in Canada and France have indicated his eye is off the ball. Meanwhile, Schumacher and Ferrari have improved. They're putting pressure on him, taking points in 7 out of 8 races and leading the title chase by 14. Jacques has finished only 4. Ferrari's on a roll, plus you have the Schumacher factor. Jacques has to get himself refocused, put the media to one side and concentrate 100%. He was IndyCar champ. He knows he can do it.
Well, Formula One has always been a cauldron of rumour and gossip, and here at Silverstone, nothing's different. A lot of it has been around the Benetton team and Flavio Briatore and Gerhard Berger. Gerhard Berger's health problems have been a real disaster for him this year, and then the tragedy of his father's death last Wednesday has just added to the pain. Jonathan Green caught up with team boss Flavio Briatore to shed a little bit of light on the troubles.
Well, one of the burning questions on everybody's mind, Flavio Briatore, is Gerhard Berger's condition. What can you tell us?
I don't know yet, because physically I believe Gerhard is okay. The surgery was well, and he recovered very quickly. But, you know, I don't know what happened after the accident the father have, because I talked with him yesterday, he was very down. I don't know. I see him Monday, and we know for the future what we need doing, but I think so. For the moment, he's pretty much in shock, and see what happens.
You know Gerhard very well. There's a lot of rumors that he may retire. Do you think that's a possibility?
No idea, honestly. I don't know the reaction of Gerhard after this drama happened to him, and let's see. Let's see. For the moment, I have no idea what's going on.
Well, thanks, Jonathan, but that doesn't really shed any light on what Flavio's plans are for his drivers, or no mention of the engine yet. Good news, though, for the Benetton team. They have a new sponsor, Federal Express, on the car for the rest of the year. One man, though, in the pit lane who's really happy. Irishman Eddie Jordan's got a new engine deal, and he also spoke to Jonathan Green to give us that update.
Well, Eddie, the rumours of engines have been persisting all year, but finally you've stolen the charge and you've announced your engine for next year.
Obviously, Jordan has been very concerned or very interested to know that we would have the right power for our next step into the future, and that was confirmed a week ago in Tokyo with Mugen Honda, and that's the lineup for the next number of years. I'm extremely happy about it. First negotiation started at Suzuka last year at the Grand Prix there, and you know, it really ran very smoothly, but at the end of the day, of course, we have a season to finish this year, and we're in competition with each other, and that will stop at the end of this season, and of course then the collaboration will start in full earnest.
You must be delighted because that is an engine of the future, isn't it?
I have to be honest with you and say that there are a number of very, very strong engines in Formula One at the moment, and without any hesitation, this is absolutely in the same league. It's better. It's no worse than any other engine in this championship, and there are some very fine engines. And what I know that is coming in the future, I don't think we'll have any problem about the power.
Well, dear old EJ, a master of double Irish, but one thing is for certain, the Jordan team are moving forward. Though, again, on the driver's side, Fisichella is believed to be going back to Benetton. There's an option which has got to be signed or otherwise by tomorrow. So, 4 British drivers in this Grand Prix. Maybe he may be in the future. Warm beer, part of British culture. Mika Häkkinen's a bit frightened. But the man they all come to see, Damon Hill, and this man.
Hi, this is Johnny Herbert. You're watching the British Grand Prix, and it's going to be great.
Welcome back to Silverstone, and some 120,000 people have packed themselves into Silverstone on a rather pleasant day. It's 70 degrees outside, 79 on the track, but ominously 56% humidity and a 25% of rain. But the man they're interested in is Damon Hill, the people's champion. He thought he was going to have a nice, comfortable, easy ride, but Tom Walkinshaw, team boss, chose this opportunity to say a few home truths, one of which was, Damon, if the money doesn't motivate you, the fear of failure should. Damon Hill, under pressure from his boss, and not finding it particularly comfortable. Jonathan Green has been busy this weekend. We saw the opening titles. He's been doing a little bit of society tap dancing.
We often get asked what racing drivers do when they're not racing cars. Well, the answer in England is quite simple. They have a ball. Well, Johnny, we always talk about the glamour and glitz of Formula One. I suppose this setting anyway, is what it's all about, really, isn't it?
Yeah, no, this is rather, I must say, rather nice.
I suppose you are underdressed, but you are working this weekend, aren't you?
Yes, I am working. It's been a bit busy, and I must say it's taken me about an hour and 10 minutes just to do about 5 miles here.
Of a race weekend, do you ever get a chance to relax, really?
Not really, no, because there's so much that's going on during the weekend. The only time you get is probably about half an hour when you get back to the hotel having a massage. That's probably about the most resting time you get.
So this has got to be the ultimate tease, really, for you. I mean, some of the most beautiful ladies in the world here, all drinking champagne, all having a good time. You've got to shake a few hands and go home.
I know, it's tough life, mate.
Oh, well. I'm sure you'll put up with it. You actually fly your own helicopter, yeah?
Yeah.
Have you flown it here to Silverstone?
It's parked out the front there.
And what, do you just fly in and fly out every day?
I'm going to go for a spin now.
Perfect. Got a bit more important things on your mind, yeah?
Yeah.
Enjoy your spin.
Will do. See you later.
See you in a...
Not quite the days of the Great Gatsby, but Derek Bell, we are here at this revised Silverstone Grand Prix track. Give us an insight of what we're going to see this afternoon.
Well, it's 3.2 miles, totally resurfaced in the last year. They've created new profiles, firstly at Copse, which has made the corner much faster, and then at Priory, Brooklands and the Luffield complex. The circuit, of course, flows much better. Here we ride with Jacques Villeneuve as we go into the desperately fast Copse corner, the original old corner, but now being reprofiled and working our way down through Maggots into the old Beckett's corner. This right-hander, absolutely critical to get through fast because it leads you down on a hanger straight. We get down here up in 6th gear, 185, maybe 109 and 190 miles an hour. Braking quite right sharply here down into Stowe. New revised Stowe for last year through this corner, right on the limit, out on the curbs and fleeping it down towards Vale Corner. They go down there, very hard braking, down to 2nd gear, 3rd gear, up again as we lead ourselves into club, trying to keep the power on, trying to keep that power under control, surging our way up towards Abbey. This was the famous, very fast Abbey. Now, a left and right flick through a chicane, as it were, back down under the little bridge, flat down through this corner here, 150 miles an hour, as they sweep into Priory, This is the new layout here. The cars flow through much better, not nearly as slow as it was. Then, of course, through Brooklands, Luffield, out onto the pit straight. Very difficult to overtake, but a very satisfying circuit when you get it right. Now, let's go down to Ferrari Technical Director Ross Brawn for some formula changes that Ferrari had actually made for this race for the British Grand Prix.
Well, there's been several changes. One of the major changes has been the new front wing, and what's changed mainly is the profile of these flaps, and the objective was to try and make the wing more stable, less sensitive. When the car's changing ride-outs, then we wanted a wing which had a more consistent performance. The other aerodynamic modification we've got for this race is the faired-in suspension members, and they clean up the flow to the rest of the car, and that was a modification we introduced in the last test. It seems to be working quite well. It's got a combination of fast corners, medium speed corners, slow corners, and there's a couple of areas of the car that we still need to improve. So I think it'll be a little bit tougher this weekend at Magny-Cours, but we'll see.
Well, one of the most savvy guys in Formula One, Ross Brawn. But let's have a look at the grid for today's Grand Prix. Jacques Villeneuve, 9th pole career. Heinz-Harald Frenzel alongside him, looking for victory and closing that gap. The man who should have been in pole, Mika Häkkinen, the last minute lost it. Michael Schumacher leading the championship. Watch him at the start. Younger brother Ralph on the 3rd row of the grid alongside David Coulthard on the 2nd McLaren Mercedes-Benz. Eddie Irvine backing up Schumacher in the 4th row. Alexander Furch doing a great job in his 3rd Grand Prix for the Benetton team. Johnny Herbert and Giancarlo Fisichella on the back of the 5th row of the grid. Anybody behind these two guys ain't going to be in the race. Sadly, that includes Jean Alesi and the people's hero, Damon Hill. Jarno Trulli, the birthday boy today. Shinji Nakano, not too shabby. Jan Magnussen, Pedro Diniz on the 8th row of the grid. Down on 9th place. Mika Salo, Ukio Katayama, just not enough horsepower, these guys. 10th row, Jos Verstappen, Tarso Marquez. And 11th and last row, Rubens Barrichello, after disastrous qualifying. Norberto Fontana was penalised for an infringement in qualifying. Those are the scenes here at Silverstone. This Grand Prix will be underway in a moment. Return with us to see the start of the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Welcome back as the cars now make their way for this final lap. They'll come onto the grid. And just looking down from that heli-cam, weather, as we mentioned a moment ago, 70 degrees ambient. That's a comfortable race temperature. Nice for the spectators. 79 degrees in the track. We know how sensitive these cars are to track temperature. The only thing is, if it goes up or down, everybody's in the same boat. 50% humidity, very high level of humidity, and a 25% chance of rain. So we think it'll be dry throughout, but the rain can blow through Silverstone very quickly indeed. 2 stops we expect for the majority, but this is a Grand Prix where it is extremely difficult to overtake. And Derek, that's your speciality.
Yes, it's going to be very, very difficult indeed. Now they've got these flowing corners. They've eliminated some of the slower corners, this sort of stop and start corners, and of course it means that these guys just cannot get by one another. And it's going to be very, very interesting just to see how the race pans out and how they go for their pit stop strategies and things like that. But we saw some wonderful times in practice and in qualifying. We've seen the Williams up there going very, very strongly indeed. And of course, Schumacher, as always, is right there. Great, very sad to see Mika Häkkinen pushed off the front row there right at the end yesterday. He, on his 17th minute of the qualifying session, he actually got himself onto pole and he sat there for the whole time. Did an absolutely marvellous job, but of course, got pushed off at the end there. Great, but I'm sure we're going to see a lot from him in this race.
Well, Derek, let's just remind our audience that the choice of tyres has fallen on the Goodyear hard. We have Ferrari, Williams, Benetton and Jordan. And on the optional, the softer tyre, McLaren. Big gamble, I think, for McLaren, Sauber and Tyrrell. On Bridgestone, everybody's opted for the hard tyre, except Yukio Katayama in the Minardi hard. He must know something. On Bridgestone, nobody else knows. 60 laps, 1 lap less than last year. 2 pit stops. We expect this Grand Prix to be about the front 5 rows. Anybody down below Giancarlo Fisichella, and that includes Jean Alesi and Damon Hill, will be a difficult race. But Derek, also at the start, revised Copse Corner. First time Grand Prix cars have gone into this corner. What would you expect?
Well, it's going to be very, very difficult indeed. I think, John, obviously the front row is going to be able to take it absolutely flat all the way through, because it's flat and they're going flat. But nevertheless, I think it's going to be quite difficult here. I think it's going to be quite difficult for them as they actually go in there for the second and third rows. They're going to have to back off and take it very, very easy.
Well, Derek, we've got an aborted start. Somebody has stalled on the grid. We can't see. This grid in Silverstone isn't a straight line. As you see, it's a bow. So the yellow flashing lights indicated that somebody was in trouble, and whoever that somebody is, it looks, looking down the grid, it's about 11th or 12th place. It could be Damon Hill or Jarno Trulli or a Stewart or anybody, but certainly it looked to me someone down in the middle of the grid, and that car now will have to go to the back of the field, because if you abort a start, the penalty for that is, of course, that you have to go to the back of the grid. So now Norberto Fontana has been elevated from 22nd to 21st on the grid. The whole procedure will be restarted. It'll take about 5 minutes. But of course, for the drivers, with the tension, and here at Silverstone in particular, it is a very intense Grand Prix. A lot riding on this race. We're into the first race of the second half of the 97 season. Michael Schumacher, we're on board with him. It's a 5 minutes restart that's just gone up. But Michael Schumacher knows that Silverstone is not a racetrack where his Ferrari is going to be, let's say, at its strongest. The only difference is that in that car, Michael Schumacher is the master of Formula One. While this chaos almost on the grid is enacted out, we're going to take a short commercial break. So stay with us. Join us to see British Grand Prix Start 2 in a minute. Welcome back to this aborted start of the British Grand Prix. But just as an extra little treat this afternoon, we have got the winner of the Portland IndyCar kart race, Mark Blundell, third on the grid for this afternoon's Cleveland race. Mark, how are things over in Cleveland?
Things are going very well. We're having a good weekend so far. Just wait and see what happens to the race. Hopefully we're not going to run into any dramas like the Formula One race.
Well, you guys are lucky. You don't have a standing start. You have a rolling start, so these issues never occur.
You're right there, but we do have some issues on the first corner now and again. But yeah, I can see what the guys are going through at this moment in time. Sitting on the grid there, I'm sure they're going to be pumped up about getting the race underway, but I'm sure the old adrenaline flow's dropped off at this moment.
Mark, talking about the first corner, we were just talking about it before the last break. It's a revised Copse Corner, much quicker. How do you imagine this 22-car field's going to deal with that?
Well, it's going to be difficult in some respects because, as you say, it is very quick. It's going to be a possible incident there, because especially in the middle of the pack, the quicker guys are going to have an open track to them. They're going to run through it nicely, but middle of the grid may pack up a little bit, and somebody's going to try and do something down the inside possibly, and it could be a mess, but hopefully they get away cleanly.
So just give a feel to the people listening, just what you think that Villeneuve is going through right now as he came up there after his warm-up lap. Got to go through it again.
Well, he would have been just pumping himself up on that green flag lap there, the parade lap, ready to come up to the line to go off at the start. Would have been very focused on those lights. Come up there and sit there and get ready for the start. The red flag come out. It just puts you down a little bit. It's, something there you've got to just accompany that problem and just try and build yourself back up and refocus. It's tough. It's also difficult to have everybody re-crowd you again.
Yeah, your last run here, Mark, that was with McLaren?
Yeah, last run there in 95, and actually the circuit's changed somewhat since then, and as John rightly said, there's a few corners that have been modified that are a lot faster.
Yeah, I mean, they've changed Stowe, I think, twice since you raced on it, and of course they've changed Copse as well, so it is quite different. But I mean, they're taking, I don't know if you've been listening, but they take Copse virtually or absolutely flat out. It's absolutely amazing. It's sort of 170 mile an hour now.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting point to start, to see him take that corner first off.
Mark, just interestingly, it was Heinz-Harald Frentzen that stalled, so that's why the two yellow flags are before and behind him. So Frentzen is now, after all that work that he went through on Saturday qualifying, going to have to wait until the entire field. And for Frank Williams, you know what Frank's like about getting points in the championship. He'll probably be, well, I would hate to think.
Well, I'm sure Heinz-Harald is beside himself, and I'm sure that Frank Williams and Patrick are not going to be that happy. But, you know, it's just one of those things. It is very difficult sometimes to get those cars off the line. They've got a hand-control clutch. You've got to monitor the throttle pedal with enough revs and then let the clutch out just at the right time. And the bite point's very quick, and there's not much response as well. So, you know, it's difficult. It does happen.
Yeah, these guys are meant to have anti-stall devices on the cars these days. I don't know whether Heinz-Harald understands where it is in his cockpit.
Well, you know, electronic stuff does go wrong now and again. Such is the world of technology, it's not perfect.
Now, Mark, just one thing. Derek's going to ask a question. Look, you've got these glorious scenes of Silverstone. There's goodness knows how many hundreds of thousands of people there. Where would you like to be most of all, here or in Cleveland?
Well, put it this way, if I was sitting on the front row of the Grand Prix in Silverstone, I'd like to be there, but at the same point, I'm not. I'm sitting on the second row in Cleveland, and I'm looking forward to my race for the rest of the year.
I think you're dead right.
He knows which way his bread's buttered, doesn't he? Yeah, what do you think that our poor old Frenzen's going through back there? The poor guy's got to work his way through the field. He's got much slower cars, but of course they're going to be quick round the corners, and there's a lot of corners.
Well, you know, I think the great thing for that, they're going to see a Grand Prix winning car out there at the back of the grid, and it's going to have to come through. So from a spectator and TV point of view, you should see some good dicing.
It's going to be interesting to see how Schumacher, remember Schumacher's got a gap in front of him now. He hasn't got Frenzen in front of him, so it's going to make the start much more interesting from his point of view.
Yeah, watch out as well, because we know he gets off the line pretty good. And, you know, I think it's going to be a great hole for him to point his nose through.
Absolutely. There's going to be a very, very intriguing start. And, of course, having his young brother, I can't remember when two brothers sat next side by side to each other on the grid. It's quite amazing, isn't it, to have that? I'm sure it's never happened before.
I don't think it has. The nearest may have been the Fittipaldis way back in the early 70s when they both drove the Fittipaldi, the Copasuca. But there, the clear road for Michael Schumacher. And I tell you what, if God was looking after Michael this afternoon, he's given him a great opportunity. But, folks, back home, we're going to get these cars onto the grid. We hopefully won't have another aborted start. But in a few moments, the crescendo of 22 Formula One cars. These things rev to 17,000 RPM. They just put their foot virtually flat on the board. The electronics on the engine take over. So listen to it. A great start from Villeneuve. He consolidates that advantage. Look at Coulthard, look at Hackett, and Schumacher in second place, but a McLaren. Coulthard, oh, Schumacher shuts the door. Everybody appears to get through Cox cleanly, but one of the Benettons are there.
Minardi
stopped at the start, so trouble for one of the Minardis, Katayama, but Villeneuve takes the advantage. Schumacher second, the two McLarens third and fourth. Johnny Herbert up to fifth. Mark,
full smoke already. There was somebody really locking up brakes as they came through there. And there's
Frenzen is off. Heinz-Harald Frenzen has gone off.
There's a tyre flat tyre as he went off. He must have hit somebody probably in that first corner melee when Minardi actually parked it, and he probably deflated the tyre and he flew off at the next turn into the kitty litter.
So it's Coulthard third, Hackett in fourth. Mark, what do you reckon to the start? But there is trouble. That's on the start-finish line. Collision with Katayama and another car. That could easily have been the car of Frenzen, but we don't know clearly.
But of course, the fact is, of course, that they're trying to get the car into neutral so they can roll the car away. What do you think, Mark?
Well, it's an interesting start. I mean, Frenzen's going to be very upset, and the team are not going to be very happy. It's going to be interesting now to see the guys coming round, because Katayama's on the side of the circuit there in a pretty dangerous position. So let's see what they do about that.
Yes, there'll obviously be yellow flags. I see Irvine's working his way over the back of younger Schumacher, but Michael isn't giving much room. That's a very dangerous place. I'm absolutely amazed. Well, they got yellow flags out, but they've really got to get rid of that car. It's a very, very dangerous position indeed.
Derek, they've got to bring the safety car out, because that car is in such a dangerous position that it is too risky. There we have confirmation. So the safety car will come out as the cars come out. Mark, you're used to safety cars. There we see that the new CLK Mercedes-Benz, just like the one I'm going to get very shortly, comes out onto the track. It will pick up the lead car. But very, very scary moment indeed on the opening lap. Mark, the safety car comes on track. You're accustomed to it. The Formula One guys are not so familiar with it. How does that affect, once again, your thoughts?
Well, obviously, I mean, the race is going to basically start again. I mean, it's going to be like a restart situation for them. The problem is keeping the tyres up to pressure. That's the big problem for us out there on the circuit. We need to try and maintain tyre pressure, and once we get another restart, get a clean car underneath us. But it's difficult.
So we've got basically three cars out. We've got a Tyrrell in the pits. We couldn't see whose that was. Frenzen and Katayama. So very, very disappointing start, particularly after Heinz-Harald managed to stall it on the grid. Had that not happened, maybe that tension would have not been there. Let's look and see.
Now here we go. Oh, look at
Fontana loses it.
Dear, Fontana loses it, but we see nothing to do.
Katayama really was the one that came out. He just turned right, and no apparent reason.
I just like
damage, of course, on the left-hand side. Let's look again at the head-on shot, see if we can see. Look at the very back of the grid if anything happens.
Oh dear, he just turned straight round. Somebody must have tapped him and just put him straight round. Remember, they are starting on quite a sharp angle there, and so there's quite a lot of angle. The car wants to lean, wants to turn, and of course if somebody taps him while he's on that turn, we'll watch it again from the air.
Yeah, it looks to me as if that maybe was, we lost it because the camera's too far forward, but look how tight it gets there. The two McLarens and Ferrari squeezing it. Schumacher didn't take any prisoners whatsoever in the first corner. But with Katayama, Mark, that to me looked rather like a drive shaft failure more than just somebody hitting him.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, John. It did look like a drive shaft failure. Look, they had all the revs on there, dropped the clutch, and one of the drive shafts gave way and just turned him sharp right. That's very unusual to get off the line like that and have an incident in that position.
Well, safety car is back. Everything is under control. Well, in fact, the cars have been racing to catch up to the safety car. So while the safety car is out on track, we're going to thank Mark Blundell very much, because you've got to jump into your car now and go out and do your warm-up for your afternoon's race in Cleveland.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm going racing. Bye.
Take care. Have a good one. There's the trouble. That's what happened. The Tyrrell and Frentzen. So Frentzen got hit from behind. We're not sure whether that was Verstappen or Saulo. So really, Frentzen very unlucky indeed to find that through no fault of his own. There, look, the left rear tire completely deflated, and in fact something on the left front as well. So while we are under the safety car on the third lap of this Grand Prix, remember only 59 laps this race, we're going to take a commercial break. Come back and join us. Welcome back. The pace car has just pulled off and racing is underway, and Jacques Villeneuve powers across the start finish line. Michael Schumacher behind him, Coulthard, Hakkinen, Johnny Herbert, Ralf Schumacher into Kopp's corner. The two Benettons, Fisichella. Now the climb up out of Kopp's. Fisichella trying to find a way past, but there the view, that camera in the curb at Beckett's corner. The cars stream now out of Beckett's, begin to make their way down Hanger Straight. And look at that group. McLaren, Sauber, Jordan, Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari, but Coulthard managing to hold up that group of cars. Fisichella pops out behind and tries to get it done, and Alexander Wirtz. Down into Vale, Schumacher pressing, and already the gap is opening up between the first two and third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and 10th. We'll be right back. Don't go away for the rest of the action. Welcome back, and David Coulthard still holds up this line of cars, and in doing so, what it's done is let Giancarlo Fisichella get ahead of Jean Alesi. There is the young Italian, there is the more elderly Frenchman. But Coulthard doing a great job for himself, and he's in effect providing a bit of entertainment for us as well. But I can imagine the frustration that's in Mika Hakkinen's helmet, Johnny Herbert,
as well,
Ralf Schumacher, Eddie Irvine, and the rest behind.
Well, would you like to be out there stuck there in Herbert's place? You'd be absolutely peeved beyond measure. They really need to get by, but as you can see, the power of those McLaren engines is such you can't get close enough, and you only catch up during the corners, but not enough to actually capitalize on it and get by when you catch the guy up. Those little, as I say, puffs of cloud that you see really are just dust that's on the track brought on by other cars. Damon in the pits. Oh dear, he was doing so well, but it might just be a normal stop.
Derek, it's just a regular sort of service. Damon Hill first stop, so he was in 12th place. This is going to drop him down a bit, and it's a strange decision to have the Bridgestone teams. We've had Jan Magnussen in for his stop, so Damon Hill 13.1 seconds, a very poor stop indeed. There you could see the frustration on the reigning world champion as he pulled out that time spent in the pits. It is a very long pit entry here at Silverstone. Although you can charge up until you come into the pits itself, it is still a long way, and that was frustration indeed for the world champion. He'll drop all the way down, I think, to 18th, 19th place, and looks like Bridgestone are going to have to make multiple pit stops, so they're going to see their day done after 59 laps.
Well, of course,
Coulthard still in third place. fighting to keep it.
But of course what it did is it's made Damon look a lot better on the day than he probably was. They put a nice soft tower on, light load of fuel, and he's gone out there and give it the works. Got the crowd going and got the British public really excited. The old flags are waving there for a few of them, probably for DC, but that's what it's done, of course. But now Damon's back in 18th, and all he's going to have to do is keep charging through. Maybe not a bad strategy. You know you're never going to win in that car at the present time. But this group really is very, very close together. And I just wish somebody could make the break a little bit. Oh, Villeneuve's right out in that dirt again as he comes out of Stowe corner. It's a very, 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 very fast corner. And now they're leading down into the little complex as they come through Club Corner and lead out onto the short straightaway up towards the old hangar. And here we have Magnussen in again. Oh no, this is Gary Keller. I do beg your pardon.
Of course, just looking at Villeneuve, you say he's doing that on purpose. Villeneuve is capable of using all the gamesmanship in the world just to make life a little bit frustrating and difficult for Michael Schumacher. But believe me, Michael Schumacher has made him pretty tough stuff.
Well, right now,
Michael almost gets off the track as he comes out of the pits.
Well, right now, of course, Michael is reasonably happy to tow around behind him. There's a pit stop to go, or maybe two. We don't know what it is at the moment. But now Michael's quite happy. He's 14 points in the lead, and he knows this is the circuit where he might not be dominant, so he's got to just play a waiting game. As from races, he'll have to do that.
Derek, if these two lead cars are doing more than one stop, we would expect to see Villeneuve and Schumacher come into the pits anywhere in the next 3 to 5 laps. And that, look at Schumacher's car, big tank slapper as he came into Beckett's, the right-hand part. This is really where the Williams chassis of Jacques Villeneuve ought to be just pulling away by a country mile, because it was in Beckett's that I thought the Ferrari was not as convincing, certainly as this chassis is. Watch Villeneuve on the exit of Stowe Corner to see if he kicks the dirt once again. Smaller amount, runs absolutely to the very edge, doesn't he?
Johnny Herbert in for a pit stop. So a lot of them are making pretty early stops. They're obviously on 2-stop strategies, if not 3.
First Goodyear runner as well to make a pit stop. So Johnny Herbert, who was running in 5th place, into the pits, and that was on the 18th lap. So we can expect now the pit lane is going to become a very busy place indeed. And that's an indication as to how the Goodyear, the softer of the Goodyear tires. Remember, Herbert opted to run on the optional tire. That's the softer tire. So these two, what's going on back up at Stowe?
Oh, locking up with DC. David Coulthard locking up some brakes. Big time coming in there. That won't have done his tyres any favours at all. Lost him some time, and you can see in the shot we saw earlier that, of course, Mika caught him up quite handsomely over that. Of course, what it does is it actually slows you down when you're behind, because you think, is he going to go off? Is he going to hang it in there? Is he going to take me with him? So consequently, you actually back off and don't benefit from it too much.
So we are after 18 laps. Villeneuve, Schumacher, Coulthard, Hakkinen, Schumacher, Urban. Hasn't really changed very much. We're going to take a break. Stay with us and catch the first round of pit stops. Welcome back to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. 19 laps in the record book. On the 20th lap, the gap between race leader Villeneuve and Michael Schumacher at its widest so far in the 19 laps, 1.5 seconds. But a country mile, as I've said, ahead of this battle. David Coulthard, Mika Hakkinen. Now Coulthard we saw with that big lock-up, Derek, and what happens when you get a big lock-up is you get a big flat spot on the tyre. The steering goes out of balance. It is very uncomfortable to drive.
That's absolutely right, John. In fact, they are 27 seconds behind Schumacher, and that is quite a long way, and that nearly is a pit stop should Schumacher wish to pit at this point, because they're normally about 28 seconds. We haven't seen the fast boys going in yet. We can see Fontana in there, who's, of course, we saw had to work his way up from the back of the grid.
Well, Mika Hakkinen very wide on the exit of Club. Maybe he's just getting fed up of getting the exhaust gases of teammate Coulthard, or maybe just looking at an alternate to try and get something done going into Abbey.
I actually noticed he's been going wide every time. It's David that seems to keep a much tighter line. I noticed it on several of these runs. Oh, it looks like we could have a bit of manoeuvring going on here. Remember, this is
Damon Hill just going past Tarso Marquez, and of course Damon has been in the pits for his first tyre stop. And that was done at Stowe Corner just a lap ago. So the world champion making up positions. I mean, Tarso Marquez isn't a great scalp to capture, but if you're in the situation that Damon has been in, he can say, I passed the car. It was a racing pass, guys.
Just what he wanted, that's for certain. It's interesting to see also that Nakano is ahead of Trulli, which is something we didn't maybe expect to see, but nonetheless very good. the carnage, as you said just now, has been they've been said, give him a free hand and off he goes.
Ferrari are expecting one of their two cars. Is it Irvine? Is it Schumacher? Irvine there in the middle of those two yellow Jordan Peugeots. So will they bring Irvine in, get him out of this battle, try to get out of sync with the main flow of this race? Again, Hakkinen looks to try and get it done, and David Coulthard coming into Vale, but no way. Irvine stuck behind the back of Ralf Schumacher. He's been there virtually the entire Grand Prix. Hakkinen again shows the nose. That is pure frustration, Derek.
Absolutely. I mean, you think David would give him that chance, but he's not going to.
Michael Schumacher in second place until now in the pits. Ferrari bring him in on lap 22. So Schumacher in, brand new set of sticker tires, 7.1 seconds. Is that good enough to get the position that he really wants to be in? Number one.
One heck of a good time though, John. 7.1 seconds. That is outstanding. And he comes out with a nice bit. It looks like a nice bit of clean road in front of him. I couldn't quite see it all. Brand new sticker tires as he comes out. Nice open bit of road.
But Derek, is he ahead of the two McLarens? I think he is, because there's race leader Jacques Villeneuve. Now he really isn't in a position to go much quicker. There's one of the two Tyrrells ahead of him. I think that's a Tyrrell. And Villeneuve now coming up to start the process of lapping. That's Jos Verstappen, who was the man who took out Villeneuve's teammate. So for Michael Schumacher, he's got a clear track, new rubber, a bit more fuel on board. Villeneuve, old tyres, slower cars. Villeneuve may well try to come in and make an earlier stop than was planned. If Williams were on the case this weekend, they've got to think about it.
Yeah, well, of course, now Villeneuve is being slightly held up here by this tail ender. They're waiting for him to come in. He's held up just a bit, but he'll be in this lap. And we'll just see where Michael comes out. Remember, he will have had, as you just said, John, a really quick lap.
Race leader is into the pits. It is now a battle amongst the teams. Remember, speed limit button now. Get the speed down. Jacques Villeneuve, 120 kilometers in the pit lanes today. That's 70 miles an hour. Remember, 7.2 seconds for the Ferrari pits. 1.5 seconds was the difference on the track before Schumacher came in. It is now Schumacher has taken the lead of this Grand Prix.
They can't get the wheel on.
Trouble. The left front is a problem. Michael Schumacher leads. He's just gone past the pits as we speak, and the disaster once again for the Williams team as they have a problem. The left front wheel nut will not come undone. It is off now. Schumacher is in the lead of this Grand Prix. He has lost second place because David Coulthard has gone through. Mika Hakkinen's gone through. So has Johnny Herbert. Johnny Herbert, of course, is in the pits. Irvine's gone by. Ralf Schumacher, Eddie Irvine. What a disaster for the Williams team. There is race leader. There is a man who was up one place, Eddie Irvine. Good stop, 8.3 seconds. So he will consolidate his position. I think he will remain in fifth place.
And looks like Fisichella was going out just behind him. Can't be sure of that one. But, of course, that means that Villeneuve is in front of these two. But, of course, he's behind the two McLarens at this time. And obviously, the McLarens have yet to come in. But it means that Michael Schumacher is firmly ensconced in the lead.
Who would have believed it? Williams' problem. We've seen it happen to them before. Patrick Head is absolutely spitting blood. The team is saying that the left front nut, we couldn't get the brake on the nut. Patrick Head, technical director and part owner, along with Frank Williams, and his face, if that was a book, it would be something you couldn't even buy in a shop.
Yeah,
it would be so upset.
Not a good time to interview him right now, I wouldn't think. Probably the best place is to stick him up on that wall. Schumacher well in the lead, Coulthard second, Hakkinen third.
And Derek, I believe that Coulthard and Hakkinen are only in one stop. That was the plan. They thought about it long, they thought about it hard. They probably realised that they couldn't challenge for the lead of this race by making a two-stop strategy. They thought that Schumacher and Villeneuve would just be that little bit quicker in race circumstance. That's the planning you've got to take. It's the gamble you've got to take.
But we've seen this happen quite a lot this year, John. We've seen the McLarens go for this a one-stop strategy, and it's given them the opportunity to nearly win a couple of races. But not this time, in my opinion, because, of course, it means now that they're still behind. They've still got one big stop to make, not just two short ones, and Michael's still there in front.
Indeed, but, of course, for Villeneuve and for Ferrari, they're going to have to make one more stop. I anticipate that the plan that McLaren had has been slightly upset by David Coulthard, allowing the gap between first and second to extend so much. That may not have been the smartest thing from the McLaren perspective, but the one-stop strategy is a gamble, and it may have paid off, because for Villeneuve, losing so much time, 50-odd seconds in total time, that the whole thing has been upset. Now McLaren, we have to watch what they will do. They're going to come in somewhere around about lap 30, 31, 32 for a single stop. They'll go as deep as they can to guarantee that when they do make that stop, there'll be as short a time in the pit lane, less fuel going in. The tyres, of course, don't take as long to change as it does to put the fuel in. So Schumacher has this race won at this stage and probably will go on and win it if things stay normal. Jacques Villeneuve, 29 seconds behind Villeneuve. And remember, of course, that David Coulthard's in second place. So after that high drama in the pit lanes in the Williams pits, we're going to take a quick break. There are your top 6. Where's Villeneuve? Welcome back to Silverstone. There we see fastest race lap, Jacques Villeneuve, 125.322, but he's not in the top 6. But there is second, third and fourth place. David Coulthard, Mika Häkkinen, Giancarlo Fisichella. But Michael Schumacher still leads this race comfortably. He's had one stop. Coulthard, Häkkinen, Fisichella yet to stop.
He's pulling away, John, at about a second a lap from that little group. So it just shows what a benefit those new tyres have been. See how Häkkinen takes a very wide line every time out of club corner. But he doesn't seem to do him that much good. But I'm surprised that McLaren have not insisted that he's allowed to go by. I know you might say, or the club would say, yeah, but it's racing. But he's definitely holding people up, and it's really blown their strategy in my book, because I can't believe that Mika couldn't have stayed closer to Schumacher if he'd wanted to, if he'd really got into it.
Well, I agree with you. I think that Mika was capable of running faster. We've seen all weekend that Häkkinen has been stronger than David Coulthard, but I don't know why Ron Dennis is not being a little bit stronger and saying, look, David, allow Mika to go through. Giancarlo Fisichella, who's running directly behind Mika Häkkinen, well, his team are preparing for the second Jordan to make a pit stop. This is lap 27. And this battle that's taken place while race leader Michael Schumacher, there are the best laps, there are the last laps. A tenth of a second between best and last. Coulthard, you can see, almost 3 seconds.
And in fact, Schumacher's another 2 seconds up on Coulthard. I mean, that is a heck of a lot, and that must be really frustrating the people behind, because this obviously two-stop strategy is the way to go. And he's picking up a group now, the tail enders of the Tyrrells, and he's going to have to work his way through. That shouldn't be insurmountable, but it's never easy when you come up upon 3 cars in front, all of which are out dicing one another. Mika having another look, another part of the track. I was talking about the tail enders, and that is, of course, quite difficult sometimes to come up. They're all having their little dice. They don't see you coming through. Again, as they come around that club corner, you see how wide. And of course, that's Fisichella all over the back of Mika. Mika probably had to back off a bit. He's lost a certain amount of enthusiasm, because there's nothing he can do about getting past Coulthard. And of course, both the Benettons are in attendance as well. Nobody doing much, but he's having a lot of problems with these locking up of tyres, and that is really going to be his detriment at any time at all. As you said, John, flat spots on the tyres makes the steering vibrate, and of course makes the car out of balance.
Well, great shots there, coming out of Abbey onto Farm Straight. As we go back to this battle that's been raging throughout the race, and a battle that I have to say, and I agree totally with what you're saying, Derek, is that what's going on in the McLaren team is Ron Dennis sort of allowing the situation to continue. In the meantime, Giancarlo Fisichella, who was running in 4th place, is in to the pits. This is lap 27. The cars now, and that's Michael Schumacher, has started lap 28. And we're just, in fact, at the point, half distance. So Fisichella in the pits was 4th. A lot of fuel's got to go on board. That's why it took a long time. But the one and only service today for the other Jordan Peugeot team. Remember, Ralf Schumacher, he is on a 2-stopper. But this gap between Coulthard in 2nd place and Michael Schumacher leading the race is opening up at something like 2 seconds. And again, the way he locks up. Now Coulthard is off. Häkkinen has gotten through. Coulthard in trouble. No, he did not let him by. Believe me, fans, that was an error from Coulthard. Maybe, Derek, he has got a brake problem. We've seen a lot of lock-up from Coulthard, but Mika, now that he's clear, of course, he's going to come into the pits probably in the next 2 or 3 laps. But the gap now between Coulthard and Häkkinen is just, look at the way it's opened up in the space of 5 corners.
Absolutely. Oh, locking up again as he came in there. Fisichella, of course, went in the pits. We did forecast he might go in early. Quite a wise move by Eddie Jordan. Get him out of that little group. And as we see Michael Schumacher flicked by one of the tail end of Minardi's through the fast section, coming down into Beckett's. A nice little move there by Michael, but Fisichella's stop, I think, was certainly not overdue. He should have gone maybe a little bit before, but nevertheless, it was a long stop, filled up with gas, and off he went, and hopefully won't have to stop till the end of the race.
This guy, I mean, we've talked about all the superlatives of Michael Schumacher, but what he has done is, with Ferrari, build himself effectively an Italian Benetton Ferrari team. He's got Ross Brawn, he's got Rory Byrne, there are other personnel that have worked with Michael Schumacher. The team is being gradually built together, and watch again, Coulthard, big lock-up. Hakkinen now says this is the chance. Now, I suspect that what we have seen from Coulthard has been a brake problem throughout the course of this race. Hakkinen, frustration finally being the release just to get clear air.
Oh, it'd be absolutely magnificent for him. Look at this, all locked up as he comes in there. He, of course, see the flat spots on the tyres. He misses his apex somewhat, gets out very wide, and of course, probably his brakes started to fail totally in the latter part of that corner.
Battle going down behind Coulthard. It's Jean Alesi and Alexander Wurz, and Villeneuve looking now to claw back position. Remember, Villeneuve has had a pit stop. He's going to catch up to Wurz, and that's going to be difficult because there is no way that we're going to see Wurz give away position on the track. Villeneuve's going to have to take it, but of course both the Benettons have yet to be in the pits, as has David Coulthard, and if Villeneuve can be restrained, well, the team ought to tell him that, you know, if you can't get past, just wait.
But he's going to have a heck of a big job to get by. He's just not. These guys are going a lot slower, and he's held up with them. They're all dicing. They've all got fast engines. The two of them in front have got Renault engines, the same as Villeneuve, and they're going to be holding him up. Not a nice situation to be in at all.
22.7 seconds the difference between first and second place, and those McLarens are yet, and the two Benettons have got to make a pit stop. So when these three cars ahead of Jacques Villeneuve make it into the pits, Villeneuve will find himself basically back up in second place of this afternoon's Grand Prix, but it's going to be a tight squeak. He's losing time. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break as Coulthard once again gets it wrong. Alesi tries to find a way past. Oh, look at this. Wurz comes round the outside, but can't get it done.
There's just no room to go. There's nowhere to go there. There just wasn't room in the corner, but they're certainly side by side, and can't get by there. And Villeneuve, of course, is sitting back watching. He's got to get points in this race. He can't afford to get involved in a schmozzle right now. He's got to play his cool. If he uses his brain, he knows all three of these guys have got to go in for a stop. Then, of course, he'll be able to pick up the pace, be able to get away, and hopefully will have enough bumper that when he makes his second stop, he'll retain his second place. But it's still, or third place maybe, it's still a long way to go.
Well, Jacques Villeneuve, very frustrated indeed. And that Coulthard into the pit lane it is. So Coulthard finally gets in on lap 31. We're on lap 32 of this race. So second place now is Jean Alesi. Alexander Wurz is third, we believe, and Jacques Villeneuve. So there is David Coulthard, and this is a long stop because, again, a fair amount of fuel will go in. The team, large fuel capacity. Good stop from the McLaren team, 9.2 seconds. A fresh set of rubber, but still, I believe, the difficulty with the brakes locking up on lots of places. The right front brake. Coulthard comes back on track, just slips in behind the Prost. As we look now as Mika Hakkinen makes his way out of top corner. Hakkinen still in second place, but some 23-4 seconds behind race leader Michael Schumacher. Completed 32 laps, comes across the line, completes 32 laps, now lap 33, and we're comfortably into the second half of this Grand Prix.
Schumacher's got quite a group to pick up in front here. I just hope that he can quietly pick his way past the Sauber and the, is it Minardi there? Can't see the colours at this moment, they're bouncing about so much with the zoom lenses.
So we've got the Prost, we've got the Sauber, we've got Michael Schumacher, and while they've got a moment of lull on this Grand Prix, we're going to have a quick few messages to bring you, and we'll be back. Welcome back to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Race leader Michael Schumacher and that glorious Ferrari, 21.8 seconds ahead of Mika Hakkinen, and of course Schumacher having to find his way past three cars, so that large gap that he had seemed to sort of shrink slightly, but simply that was the effect of those three cars that the race leader had to make his way past. The battle going on behind Hakkinen is Jean Alesi is third, Wurz is fourth, Jacques Villeneuve seemingly unable, with fresh rubber, to do anything about the two Benettons who have yet to make a pit stop. Johnny Herbert is in 6th, and Eddie Irvine in the second Ferrari, down in 7th place. They're on lap 33 of a 59-lap Grand Prix this afternoon, and this man, Jacques Villeneuve, must be wondering, I was the pre-season favourite for the championship. What have I done wrong, other than one stupid shunt in Canada? But the championship is just draining away from the Canadian and from the old dominant Williams team.
But it is amazing, isn't it? When it all goes wrong, it really all goes wrong. And I mean, that pit stop was so unfortunate. It could have so easily happened to Schumacher. But, you know, Williams have the best practice team of pit stoppers. They have 20 guys in the pits.
Mika Häkkinen in for his one and only stop, and this is on lap 33. So the man who has run in second place for the last 7 laps, finally getting clear of his teammate to take that second place. So let's watch the McLaren men go to work. They're usually very slick. 9.9 seconds, and considering the amount of fuel that the McLaren team put on board, Mika Häkkinen will be back out on track. And, well, he'll drop down probably somewhere around behind Jacques Villeneuve as we go back to Michael Schumacher. There's the battle going on now. That would be for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Villeneuve just sitting there biding his time. See the new ads on the side of the Benetton Federal Express. Well, maybe that's given them a little bit of impetus this weekend, but of course, when they make their pit stop, we'll see just how much of a message.
It's all quite good. There's a bit of bluff going on here, because there's no intimation at all that the Benettons are going to go in for a pit stop. There's nothing laid out. They're all back in the pits. It's rather funny, like they're going to go for a no-stop strategy for the whole race.
A lot of teams this year did build in the flexibility to go and do quite a number of laps, and Benetton have got a pretty big fuel tank. Damon Hill soldiering away in 12th place, driving for his country, his monarch, his fans, the tens of thousands that have bought memorabilia. The Damon Hill, the famous London Rowing Club hat that everybody here at Silverstone seems to, and the question mark in the back of Villeneuve's car, well, that's tobacco related, but it certainly has raised a question mark over the Williams team to get the job done under pressure. And believe me, this year, pressure is what they're under.
Schumacher's just pulling away all the time, and once he gets that bit between his teeth, he just clocked in the fastest lap of 1:24. He's like 34 seconds ahead of the car behind, who is these guys here. Of course, he had a bigger gap then because Mika Häkkinen went in for a pit stop, which of course would have meant second places, as we see as with these 3 gentlemen here, 2nd, 3rd and 4th. But Villeneuve is just sitting there. There's nothing much you can do about it. All 3 cars have got the same engines. We know that there's some very good drivers in there. There's nothing much that Jack can do about it. All he mustn't do is lose the chance of getting second place in this race. And that's what he may well do if he tries to go by.
And of course, Michael Schumacher now has got a sufficient advantage over John Alesi that in spite of Schumacher having to make a second stop, and the 2 Benettons have not yet even made their first, he would still retain the lead. But another little interesting statistic is that, in fact, Renault engines have won the British Grand Prix since 1991, when Nigel Mansell won for Williams, all the way through the days of Alain Prost at Williams, Damon Hill's days, Johnny Herbert in the Benetton, and Jacques Villeneuve last year. Unless something goes disastrously wrong for Ferrari, they're going to get back onto the winner's podium. And remember, Alain Prost, 1990, when he was a Ferrari driver, won at Silverstone.
I believe, actually, they've got the poles each year as well, John, as well as the victories, Renault. If I'm not far mistaken, that would be a figure, wouldn't it?
Well, a lot of stats that are going to be made here today. Michael Schumacher, for one, has yet to win a British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And that'll be another little notch on his belt. One that he'll be, I think, fairly happy.
36 seconds now between Schumacher and Alesi. Oh, they're ready for him in the pits now. This is probably Alesi in for a pit stop, I imagine. We'll just have to wait and see.
One man who's really impressed me, Derek, is young Alexander Wurz. His father, Franz Wurz, was a European rallycross champion driving Audi Quattro.
Whoa! He got it locked up.
He certainly did. And that was all elbows and arms. And Alexander Wurz drives with different coloured racing boots. He's got a red one for the left, a blue one for the right. Villeneuve takes the opportunity to get past Wurz. Wurz is not giving it up. Well done, young man.
Yeah, just because he got
your spurs this afternoon.
But of course his tyres are gone, John, and that's what's really doing it for the guy. He gets crossed up in the corners, he loses some ground, and Villeneuve says, okay, son, I'm coming through, but young Bert says, not on your life, father. You're not coming through now.
Derek, I think if I was a team manager shopping for a young man to put into my team, he would be pretty close to the top of my choice. As well as being a quite talented racing driver, apparently he's got a pot of gold.
Oh.
The sponsor, Schumacher, blowing smoke. I think that is smoke coming from the left rear. That looked very, very ominous. Now, whether that was just a little trickle, there we see Alesi into the pits for his one and only service of the afternoon. This should be pretty short. He's gone deep into this Grand Prix on lap 36.
Really good stop there, John. That was an 8.8. That's very good for a one-stopper. That's excellent, isn't it?
Indeed, but the reason, Derek, is because they had the ability to go deep into the second part of the race, and therefore they only had to put a small amount of fuel in. That's the kind of strategy that you can use, certainly with Schumacher. That's the kind of strategy that has won races in the past. But Schumacher, again, there's that puff of smoke as he comes into the pits. Schumacher into the pits for the second time. Am I seeing blue smoke, or is there really something just beginning to wisp from the rear quarter of the race leader's Ferrari?
Well, he's certainly in for a pit stop, John, but there certainly was some little smut of smoke coming out the back there. But if you recollect, in the last race we saw that as well.
A lot of heat from the rear brakes in the Ferrari. Michael Schumacher, 8.5 seconds, 8.8 as he gets out. But I am concerned about Michael Schumacher. It's too early in the race. Schumacher goes on to the 38th lap. There it is. Now, that's brake dust. That is coming from the brakes, I believe.
Oh, it's a lot of brake dust,
more
John.
than that is not brake dust.
No, he's not braking.
That is something more serious.
Yeah, that's not a good sign at all, but it may well be just a breather. I mean, we have to, these engines do breathe, and it could well be that this is what we saw in the last race. I remember seeing it, Michael, on his way to victory, but there seems to be a
Something
little bit...
has gone.
Yeah,
Michael Schumacher's race is over. He is pulling up, he is pulling out. I don't know whether that was maybe a drive shaft. The car began to wobble left to right as he came onto Hanger Straight. Something disastrously wrong with Michael Schumacher. His Grand Prix at Silverstone is over. He is not going to be a winner here this afternoon. We saw that look the left quarter. I think that is a drive shaft or brake related on that left rear side. The lead has gone. Michael Schumacher's dominance of this Grand Prix is over. What a shame. Classification. Birch leads as Damon Hill now comes in for his second stop. On lap 38, it is Alexander Wirtz yet, of course, to come into the pits. This means when Wirtz does make the pits, it will be Jacques Villeneuve will take over the lead of this race, and after an atrocious pit stop for the Williams team. But of course, Villeneuve has to make a second stop as well, and it could conceivably find Benetton, Alesi, who's been into the pits, or Mika Hakkinen been into the pits. It's going to be a real kaleidoscope as Wirtz goes into the pits. Race leader Alexander Wirtz, the young Austrian, in his third Grand Prix of his career, into the pits.
Well, he led a Grand Prix for a while, only for a couple of laps. Very, very sad for a course of Schumacher. But I mean, the guy, you know, he's led so many races, had so much good luck this year. Oh, and there we have one of the stewards off in the shingle. That is Barry Keller. He probably had, looks like by the smoke at the back, he had a problem with the engine and pulled off just, oh, look at him turning on the pit road. That looked very dangerous to me.
Johnny Herbert dived as Wirtz was coming down, but Wirtz had the line. He was on the racing line. In fact, in the pit lane, the outside lane is deemed part of the racetrack. So Schumacher into the pits, and the problem is on that left rear corner. Look around the drive shaft. That's all the smoke. Yeah. That's where it's coming from. That is not a brake. That is the grease. That is the...
out of the hub.
And
it's out of the hub
indeed.
Of the upright, and that's where it's all coming out. The flames even licking at it. Look,
I wonder
if they've seen that.
Was that preempted by just a heating brake, or was that something more fundamental? But disappointment. The World Championship leader, well, whatever happens, Derek, he will still be leading the World Championship when he goes to Hockenheim in 2 weeks' time. The Hockenheim ring, just south of Heidelberg in southern Germany. He will still, at worst, have 4 points advantage, assuming that Villeneuve continues on and leads this race.
But look who's lying second, Eddie Irvine. But of course, I guess he's got his second pit stop to make yet. Here we see Barry Keller's engine just expiring here. We've seen a lot of those Ford engines expire this year. He pulls right off the road, obviously, to keep the oil from getting on the track. But my goodness me, those Fords, they've had some problems this year. They had problems in practice yesterday, which meant Barry Keller had to start from the back of the grid. not at all a happy situation for the Stewart Racing team, and I'm sure they wanted to do better in their home Grand Prix, that's for sure.
Jacques Villeneuve leads this break. There's the disaster of the afternoon, Schumacher's Ferrari. We're going to take a quick break. We join with 20 laps remaining this Grand Prix. Welcome back to Silverstone. We're just watching Eddie Irvine in the red Ferrari. Jan Magnussen just ahead of him. Irvine in second place. Race leader, of course, still Jacques Villeneuve.
Oh,
and
dear,
Eddie Irvine
dear.
getting pinched. Oh, very badly indeed by Jan Magnussen. Irvine sort of, will I, won't I? Magnussen, is he coming, is he not coming? One of them had to make a decision. Eventually, they both got it right, but it so could easily have gone wrong. Eddie Irvine, the sole Ferrari in this afternoon's British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Lap 41 coming up, start of lap 42.
Well, we're going to see Irvine at his best now. He, in fact, has only actually made one pit stop for fuel. He hasn't made his second stop yet, which one anticipated, but it looked like he was going to, and they put all the kit away and put it back in the garage, which makes one wonder whether they put enough fuel in the car to finish the race on his pit stop. And, of course, they thought, well, he'll have to come in if he's in a bad position, but he's in a position to win the race right now.
Look at this corner, Derek. Copse corner, of course, in race conditions not as dramatic or as fast as qualifying, but what an awesome corner. Now into Beckett's.
Here we got the right-hander leading into the Beckett's complex. And this is the right-hander that's absolutely vital. You see the car in front just backing off as he goes through there. Absolutely vital, critical to get onto this hangar straight. Absolutely on the limit. And this is where it all matters. 6 seconds between Villeneuve and Irvine. Let's just listen to the Jordan. Down 2 gears, he picks himself into club corner, whips his way through there, he's catching the car up slightly in front, and then short burst right as he goes down to the new corner. This very sharp left-hander leading into club corner as he goes through here, right on the limit, right to the outside of the track as they come out of there. Going to be a very interesting part of the race, I think, from now on. Very, very intriguing indeed.
A glimpse of the Jordan pits, and we wonder whether this is going to be the Jordan team preparing for Ralf Schumacher. Johnny Herbert in the pits, 4th stop, but on board with Giancarlo Fisichella. So there is the Jordan team in preparation for the second stop of Ralf Schumacher. Schumacher in 3rd place. So Ralf Schumacher comes around the long Luffield corner. See how slowly he exits out of that. Tries. Now big brother Michael would be much quicker in. That's where time and positions won and lost. That takes pressure away from Eddie Irvine, who was in 2nd place. It allows Mika Hakkinen up into 3rd, Alesi into 4th, Alexander Wirtz into 5th. But a mature race from the young Jordan driver, really keen just to score points. If he got a podium, he'd be delighted. Oh, and almost stalls the engine as he leaves, makes his way all the way down to pit lane exit. Now he can get off the speed limit button.
It'll be very interesting there. In fact, the Williams team are real ready right behind there for Villeneuve to come in for his stop. Oh, look, here's Fisichella off and in the tyre wall, I think. Well, certainly disappeared off the road. This is at Copse.
And that is down at Copse, and he drives all the way back through the gravel. Silverstone gravel was not designed to be used that way, Giancarlo, but he gets it back on the track now.
Look at the brakes on.
Put the brakes on. All that gravel shot out of the front of the car, Derek.
Yeah, there's going to be gravel all over the place now, which is going to make it very skittish for the cars for a couple of laps. And of course, it's all going to be sprayed onto the outside line. So these guys are going to be neater than ever now to keep the car absolutely au point, as they say.
Eddie Irvine, 6 seconds behind. Race leader Jacques Villeneuve, but the Ferrari team beginning to look like they're going to bring Irvine in for the 2nd time.
Well, it's certainly going to be very interesting. Obviously, they're going to try and keep them out as long as they possibly can to get the maximum sort of running on the fuel, so they have only a little bit of fuel to put in to run until the end of the race. And my betting is that they won't bring Irvine in until such time as this man comes in.
Well, one thing is clear, Villeneuve will have to come in for a 2nd time. But what is not clear is the problem with that left front wheel. Will it occur again? When Villeneuve goes in, Irvine goes in, Ralf Schumacher has been in the pits for his 2nd stop. Let's look again and see what happened down in Copse. Fisichella. A bit of oversteer turning in. He had to get the lock on. Now he's on the ride of a lifetime into the gravel. And what a lucky young man he is, because he got into that gravel late in the corner. But he still is being magnetized towards the wall, the tyre wall. But he swings the car finally away and saved to fight for the rest of the day.
Well, I just hope Benetton's still interested in having him for next year. Shows he's got fight, though, boy. He kept his foot in it. And, of course, with that flat bottom, it means you can, as long as you keep those wheels spinning and bouncing, you can leap across all the shingle and come out. Johnny Herbert obviously quitting. Well, he doesn't look too happy. They said in there, Johnny, he says, no, I want to have another go. But I think his day is run, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think Johnny's had enough of this afternoon's Grand Prix. The problem he has, clearly unrectifiable. But race leader Villeneuve in for the second time. Now let's look at that left front. That was the problematic one. It's off this time. The team have got it sorted out. So let's look and see. Irvine has gone ahead. Irvine in the pits. Tires for Irvine. Back in the race to the battle for the lead. Irvine gets wheel spin. He's in trouble. I thought that looked like a rear wheel bearing. Again, Mika Häkkinen has taken the lead this afternoon, finally, after spending a lap upon the
Irvine's pulling over.
I was right. The right rear drive shaft on Irvine's as he accelerated out of the pits. I saw the car do something strange. I thought it was an illusion. You should trust your instincts, John, because that was what I saw. And Irvine's day now is over. This again has changed the whole complexion of this afternoon's Grand Prix. Ferrari will be not only disappointed, but they will be angry.
Well, that's not at all good. They've been going so well, so reliably all season, but why is the loading at this particular circuit really taking the toll on these two Ferraris? Because it's in the same area. It's right back there in the drive shaft upright area, isn't it, John?
Race leader Jacques Villeneuve. The only reason, Derek, I can surmise is that occasionally, you know, you get batches of parts that are faulty parts. So we don't know. In fact, we think this is not the race leader. The race leader, in fact, is Mika Häkkinen. Mika Häkkinen is still leading this Grand Prix. There it is, confirmation. Jacques Villeneuve second, a lazy third, Alexander Wurz fourth, David Coulthard fifth, Ralf Schumacher back in sixth place. 1 point to the Jordan team. Still a valuable 1 point.
Mind you, we're not there yet, John, and it's a long way to go, and this, I think, is where the race is going to start.
So there is the difference on the track. It's, say, 10 seconds between race leader 5.5. Häkkinen leads 5.5 seconds to Jacques Villeneuve. Jean Todt just confidently walks back to the Ferrari pits. We're going to take a break and come back and see, can Villeneuve get the job done? Welcome back to Silverstone there, race leader Mika Häkkinen. The gap was 5.5 seconds, it is now less. Part of that reason is traffic. Now Jacques Villeneuve has got to find his way past the Prost with that Mugen Honda engine. But we're on lap 46 of 59, 13 to go. It's going to be tight, but Mika Häkkinen has never tasted victory before, Derek. What's he going to do?
Well, all he's got to do, John, is keep it clean, keep his nose clean, do the laps as he's done the last 2 weeks. He's been totally dominant through all the practices and also till the last 3 minutes of qualifying. That was it. And as we see another one of the Tyrrell's part, that's 2 in the last 3 laps. But for Häkkinen, he's just got to keep his nose clean, drive the way he can. The most exciting part of his life could materialise in the next 20 minutes. And of course, Jacques Villeneuve has still got to get by that car behind. He wasn't doing a very good job at getting by the Prost, but he may well have the road a bit clearer for him now. But over here he is, you can see him. You can see him right behind Häkkinen as he sweeps down through the Beckett's complex and down Hanger Straight. All this man has got to do is keep his cool. He can do it, but remember, his tyres are going to be a little bit more worn than Jacques, because Jacques has had 2 pit stops, so he's got fresh tyres. Häkkinen's tyres have done half the race, or should I say he's only done 1 pit stop. The gap is down to 2.7 seconds, and Mika has got to make it work. But of course, catching Mika's one thing and overtaking's another.
Well, Mika Häkkinen really now has got to look for as much traffic around the circuit as possible. There's still 15 cars running in this Grand Prix, but it's a 3.1 mile lap. It's a large open circuit. Catching the traffic when you want it rather than when you don't want it is always the problem. David Coulthard finds a way past Jan Magnussen. Coulthard down in 5th place. And really, had Coulthard been behind Häkkinen much earlier in this race, then Mika Häkkinen wouldn't be under the pressure. Look at the battle going on. Ralf Schumacher running in 6th place. He's also trying to get close to that 5th place of David Coulthard. On lap 47, and shortly only 11 laps remaining. David Coulthard in 5th, Ralf Schumacher in 6th, and really nowhere for Schumacher to find a way past. The young Danish driver there, 1.9 seconds with lap 48 complete on lap 49. 10 laps running. A lazy 12 seconds behind Wirtz, a further 1.5 seconds behind teammate. Look further down the field.
But I tell you what, Mika Häkkinen is driving the race of his life. Look at him looking in the mirrors as he came down there. He swung his, looked out, where is that man? I must keep my eye on him. And he's absolutely on the ragged edge, Mika. He's not going to give an inch. He's right on the limit. The most exciting part of his career, as I said just now. He's got the world pretender behind him, his IndyCar champion behind him. But he knows that he can do it. He knows that he's the best car driver in the world. He said it himself. He said, I'm better than Schumacher. I just need the equipment. Maybe we'll see how he gets on.
Well, if Mika Häkkinen should win this race, it would bring the house down, a popular victor. Stay with us. We'll find out when we return after this break. Welcome back to this battle on lap 50. When they come across the line, it will be 9 to go. But Derek, we've been looking at the back of Mika Häkkinen's car. You've seen a problem.
Yeah, John, I just noticed there was quite a black strip around the outside edge of Mika's left rear tyre, the tyre that does all the work. And when we get down to a close shop, you'll see this, which is an indication that there is some minor blistering going on. Remember, he's on a softer rubber compound. And remember that, of course, he has done half the race on this set of tyres. He still seems to be holding the pace there with Jacques, but I know that Jacques Villeneuve, he can see that blistering going on as well. And he knows that it's not going to get any better for Mika. He's going to have to slow down at some point, but whether he can last the next 9 laps, I just can't tell. Time will.
The one thing that stands in Mika's favour, apart from his own ability, is that he's got this superb Mercedes-Benz engine, considered currently the most powerful in Formula One. This is Mika Häkkinen's 88th Grand Prix. He's yet to win a Grand Prix. Villeneuve just locked up. Looking further down the field, the two Benettons, a lazy third and Wirtz fourth. And what an intriguing Grand Prix this has turned out to be, Derek. We thought maybe we might see a bit of a domination from the Williams team, but that poor pit stop when the left front wheel would not come off has opened the Grand Prix right up. And now with Schumacher retirement confirmed as being a wheel bearing, we suspect that was the same with Eddie Irvine. Oh, Jan Magnussen, you are sometimes, well, he didn't do it right, but in the end the result was right. Ralf Schumacher got through without any problem at all.
Yes, in his own mind, Magnussen probably thought, no lad, I'm going through this corner quickly, you can get me on the next short shoot down the road. But of course he didn't wait.
There are the retirements after 50 laps. Eddie Irvine and Verstappen, the last two. Salo, of course, went out earlier. Denise, Frentzen, Katayama, 8 cars out of the 22 that started. But Mika Häkkinen still ahead, and it's less than a second. 8 laps remaining.
Now look at this tyre now. You didn't quite see it, but believe me, you look at this tyre as he comes down the straight on the outside edge. You can see it there, outside edge here of the left rear. You can just see a little black mark on the outside edge of that. There it is. Good shot of it as he came there. The angle, the light was right. And that, of course, is giving his car a certain amount of oversteer.
And Villeneuve still kicks the dirt on the exit of Stowe Corner. 3/4 of a second. That's the deficit. Well, it's almost irrelevant. You could almost put your hand out and touch the back of the McLaren. Mika Häkkinen comes out of Club Corner now, down into this tight left-hand Abbey Corner, then flicks back right through Farm, drops downhill into the flat-out lighted bridge. But of course that tyre, well, the tyre is blistered on the outside shoulder, means a lot less grip, and this is a predominantly right-hand corner circuit. So for Mika Häkkinen, he's really calling on all his experience and praying that this position will remain unchanged. We're going to go off for another quick break, back in time to see the conclusion of this year's British Grand Prix at Silverstone, and what a cracker. Welcome back. Well, there is Jan Magnussen's blow-up, but there is another drama happening around the circuit, and we're going to have a look at it now. There, race leader, no longer there, race leader Jacques Villeneuve. Tragedy for the Finn. Mika Häkkinen pulls up out of this Grand Prix, having led the race from just over a half distance. Jacques Villeneuve having had a... Let's look and see what happens. Here we are coming out of Club Corner. All of a sudden, for Mika Häkkinen, his race is finished. Watch as the Finn comes out. There it is. That is a titanic engine failure. Liquids, oil and water gush from the back of the McLaren Mercedes-Benz. Mika Häkkinen, his prayers have gone unanswered, and I have to say, Mika, I was praying for you as well. I want to see you win a Grand Prix. You deserved it this afternoon. Your time will come. But look at the spirit and the quality of the man. He is still capable of giving the fans something. They've given him a lot. He knows that he maybe was the moral victor after all this afternoon. One of many. Michael Schumacher could claim the same, but so late. That was on lap 53 of 59. And what has this Finnish driver got to do to get himself on the winner's podium? Luck has played into the hands of Jacques Villeneuve. He is going to take 10 points. Frank Williams must think, well, somebody was doing something right last night for us, because in spite of that bad first pit stop, my man is back in the lead. I'm going to get 10 points for Jacques Villeneuve. Disappointed with Frentzen stalling, and that will not help Frentzen's cause when it comes to the decisions about the Williams driver lineup for 1998.
But what a good position there for Lazy. He's going to come in with a second and Alexander Wirtz with a third at this race. That is great for Benetton at this stage of the proceedings. I'm sure it's more than they ever wished for this weekend.
Well, Derek, I did a preview for one of the British motorsport magazines 2 weeks ago. My prediction for the top three were Villeneuve, Coulthard, Alesi. Now, by circumstance, I've got 2 of the 3 correct. And, DC trying to get past Norberto Fontana. He's involved in that battle with Ralf Schumacher. So Ralf Schumacher in 5th place, still looking to get, not happy with 2 points. He would like 3. David Coulthard 4th, Ralf Schumacher 5th.
They're having a tremendous time now. This is a pity. Well, pit stop at this stage is not a good sign.
Late stop, lap 54. We don't know why. The young Italian in for a quick check around the car.
A very quick one, just some tyres and away. But of course that won't have done his position much good in the race. He hasn't had the most inspired race today. Schumacher has been running, Ralph that is, has been running incredibly well. But of course it is very, very interesting just to see how David Coulthard and Ralf Schumacher have been working their way through the traffic. And look who's there. Damon Hill still running in the British Grand Prix, where he's had some such great successes over the years, being world champion, and of course the British public love their man Damon. Look at them cheering.
And I tell you what, this man will get the biggest cheer of the day now, because in spite of being out of the points, look at that, Nakano in 6th place. The young Japanese driver outperforming superstar Jarno Trulli with 4 laps remaining. But what a cheer will Damon Hill receive after getting a roasting from team boss Tom Walkinshaw. I have to say, well done, Tom. It might have put a firework under the pants of Damon Hill. And maybe now you've got a foundation to build for the second half of the season. And you may end up getting the odd point here and there.
Well, Alesi's had the pressure on him too. He's had Alexander Wirtz outperforming him. He outperformed him in qualifying this weekend. But Alesi got the most of it at the beginning of the race. And there he is, running ahead of him. John Alesi must get terribly demoralised sometimes. He gets such terrible press. He's getting a lot of pressure within his own team. He must be pretty positive he isn't going to be staying with the team next year and must wonder where he's going to go. But to me, he's still one of the great drivers out there and deserved a great drive. I just think he needs to be steered the right way by somebody.
Well, one of the words on the grapevine is that Jean Alesi will return to the team that really gave him his first international recognition and a success. That was back in 1989 when he won the Formula 3000 Championship, the European Championship. For what team, Derek? Well, our good mate, Jordan.
Eddie Jordan.
Formula 3000. Eddie Jordan still thinks that he can rehabilitate. Well, it's going to take a mammoth task for Jordan if that is the case. But Jean Alesi, remember, is extremely popular in Japan, not only as a racing driver, but because he's married to one of the most gorgeous Japanese film stars in Japan. And with Mugen Honda engine next year, it all sounds sweet to me.
Yes, and of course, as we were talking earlier, John, one needs a challenge. You need a change sometimes to give you inspiration, to make you do greater things. And I think for Alesi and for Berger, they need to move to another team, get them pumped up, and get some competitiveness in there. And they're getting it, maybe got too complacent with their team at Benetton. They need a change. Berger is still a great driver, still capable of winning these races, but he just needs a change of atmosphere and a change of temperament all round.
It seems to me, in many cases, it's a question of too much money, too little effort. And for people like Alesi and for Gerhard Berger, we talked about him much earlier in this broadcast, you know, they're going to have to face the facts that they've been in Grand Prix racing a significant long time. There's plenty of youngsters coming along. We're looking at one right now, Ralph Schumacher. He's a star of the future. Fisichella, if he can get his mental side fixed up, he can do the job as well. Alexander Wirtz, to me, he's a great discovery and a man that Benetton clearly will want to hold on to. But Wirtz may not opt to go with Benetton. If the Renault story is true and Benetton may not have access to the Renault engine, if Walkinshaw has got it, then I could see Alexander Wirtz being very popular. Teams like McLaren, even Jordan. We keep mentioning Jordan, but Eddie will talk to anybody and everybody. And with the pot of gold that Wirtz has being pulled along behind him, an attractive package.
Yes, Eddie certainly likes those situations. It is sad these days that money can make such a deciding factor on a driver's future. It really does seem unfair by my book. Still, the guys with the real talent are up front and they don't have to bring that bag of gold with them. Lacey doesn't, Berger doesn't, obviously Schumacher doesn't, but it's sad that sort of further back these guys have to bring money with them. But the race has settled down just for the last few laps. Wirtz in a good third place. That's going to be great for him so early in his career to get up there on that podium. Lacey's been there before, but of course Villeneuve's well out in front. But it's such a pity, I think, that David Coulthard hold that group up for the first nearly half of the race before it could really open up. And that stopped a lot of interesting driving here, I think, towards the end. We're riding with Alexander Wirtz right now. Let's just listen and see.
Well, Jacques Villeneuve on the last lap of this year's British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And Villeneuve will go on and make it 8 personal Grand Prix victories. Those 10 points will bring him up to 43 points, 4 behind. Still race our current championship leader, Michael Schumacher. But more significantly, and what a disappointment, Nakano is out. He was in 6th place, and now that is cruel. Damon Hill will be now Derek in 6th place, but also significantly for Williams, for Frank Williams, he gets to make his Grand Prix century. 100 Grand Prix wins for Frank
But
Williams Grand Prix.
the other thing too, we must forget that if Damon Hill had not got a point in the World Championship that he will now have, it would have been the first time ever that the World Championship hadn't got a World Championship point in the season following his victory.
I know what you're trying to say, Derek. The loony man.
Well, you don't give me a chance.
Poor old Jody Scheckter in 1980 had a similar fate, as did back in 1953, I believe, the great Italian Alberto Ascari, having dominated the early 50s. Then, after his World Championship, it didn't happen. But victory for Jacques Villeneuve, comes out of Luffield for the last time, powers across the start-finish line to take 8 victories and 10 points. And for Frank Williams, Frank, well done. You deserve it. On the day, maybe it wasn't the best victory, but Alesi takes 2nd place for Benetton. Wirtz takes 3rd for Benetton. Great day for Briatore.
Yeah, very, very good indeed. Great to see those cars come over like that. Wonderful for Jacques Villeneuve after such a torrid mid-season period that he's been having.
And also, Derek, for Renault, this is the 20th anniversary of their Grand Prix involvement. They have won Grand Prix at Silverstone all the way through from 91 through to 97. Coulthard takes 4th, Ralph Schumacher takes 5th, and the man who the crowd are going to go mad for, Damon Hill. Here he comes, here is the Brit. Damon Hill comes through Abbey, through Farm, hand rises out of the cockpit, drops down the hill, swings right through Bridge Corner, on the brakes, into Priory. Derek, take it over, because what a great moment for the Brit. Into Brooklands for the last time. Damon Hill, he backs off, he's not under any pressure whatsoever. He raises his hand out of the cockpit, he's pumping air after the downside of Thursday and Friday and Saturday. Finally 1 point for the reigning world champion in 6th place. Listen to the crowd. That is the result for them of the afternoon. On horse after such an exciting Grand Prix. We're going to take a quick break to return to see the winners on the podium and the cheers for Damon Hill. Stay with us. Welcome back there, the race winner, and that still blonde hair. Jacques Villeneuve goes in to be weighed to ensure that his weight and the race weight of the car conform with eligibility. Jean Alesi staggers out of the car, and there nobody more pleased than Jean Alesi, the Frenchman, who's been struggling for some time to really find the form that he's always had. There, Jacques Villeneuve goes over to his girlfriend Sandrine. Big smacker right on the lips, the entire Williams team there to say well done, Jacques. we're back into winning form. They're the constructors' points. Ferrari still lead on 65, but Williams closer to 62. Benetton, good improvement, 35. McLaren 24, Prost, and then Jordan. Sauber 8, Stewart 6, Tyrrell 2, and Arrows that 1 point. Look, Damon Hill, he might as well have won the race. That 1 point is as many as 10 is to Jacques Villeneuve. Hard race, Derek. Look, the amount of perspiration and sweat. Jacques Villeneuve, we haven't seen him had to work maybe quite so hard as he sees himself on TV and looking around, a slight wry smile. You know, he could almost be a rock star the way he sort of looks these days.
Yeah, that was quite something. It was great to see him get his, you know, get his confidence back, get out there. I mean, he was in a terrible position so many times in that race, came through and won. There's Damon, whose confidence must be up so well now. I mean, he must be so pumped up for the whole team, and that's one in the eye for Tom Walkinshaw in a way.
Let's look, Derek, at the drivers' points. Michael Schumacher still with a 4-point advantage over race winner Villeneuve today. Alesi leaps forward up to 3rd place on 21. Heinz-Harald Frentzen remains on 19. Eddie Irvine remains 5th on 18, and a little bit further down we've got Olivier Panis and David Coulthard on 15 points, 14 for Coulthard, I beg your pardon. Gerhard Berger, of course, still on 10. Mika Hakkinen likewise. Giancarlo Fisichella in 10th place with 8 points. Constructors, Ferrari still lead with a gap down to 3 on 65 to 62. McLaren 35. Benetton leap up with those 24 points. Prost on 16, and Jordan, those points today for Ralf Schumacher up to 15. So of course those are unofficial. We have to wait and see whether when the cars are presented to scrutineering what will happen. But there, the unofficial results. Jacques Villeneuve, the winner. Alesi second. Wirtz, great time. Podium finish in your 3rd Grand Prix. Well done, Wirtz. Coulthard 4th. Ralf Schumacher 5th. And the man that the public will be absolutely delirious about, Damon Hill. I tell you what, be hot beer, cool beer, it doesn't matter. They'll be drinking it tonight. Fisichella in 7th. Jarno truly disappointing in 8th, outshone by Nakano all weekend. Fontana in 9th, the rest. Well, a nice smile from winner Jacques Villeneuve. Jean Alesi maybe can't quite believe his luck, and Alexander Wirtz somewhat lost, maybe first time on the podium. And John Prescott, the Minister for Transport and many other things, and His Royal Highness Prince Michael of Kent as well to present the awards. And Alexander Wirtz makes his way as we have the national anthems for race winner Jacques Villeneuve. the champagne spray, the Moet Chandon, and the shower. All the dignitaries quickly get off the winner's podium. We are also going to take the opportunity to take a quick commercial break because we want to get back to the unilateral stay here. Villeneuve, Alesi, Alexander Wurz, tell us about this, the most exciting Grand Prix, I think, Derek, of the entire 97 season. Stay with us. Welcome back, and look at those glorious shots. This 800-acre site at Silverstone, you could barely stand up. Let's listen to
well done on
Jacques
your
Villeneuve.
fourth win of the season and William Grand Prix 100th win. An interesting race for you, full of both bad luck and good luck.
Yeah, the luck turned a lot during the whole race. First, in the restart, we didn't know there was going to be the restart on that lap because the car turned its light very late. So I just lifted a little bit to make sure I wouldn't catch it when I accelerated, and then it went well for a few laps, and somehow the left front wheel became loose. So it was very difficult to drive the car because you had to turn the steering wheel a lot from one side to the other, and it became very heavy, and the grip wasn't good that way. And then when we came in the pits, that wheel stayed stuck, and it took quite a while to change it. We lost a lot of time and ended up 7th when we got back on the racetrack. But then the car was very strong, caught up the two Benetton drivers, both Wurz and Alesi, and well, they were on the one stop. They had a lot of laps, so they were sliding a little bit. And once they got out of the way, I could push a little bit, but still pitted behind Häkkinen, who then blistered his rear tire, so I could see that. And I was just waiting for the last few laps to make my move, but then he broke something before the end. So it's a great result for us. I think we needed it.
Were you surprised to see Michael going out so early? That must have been a great relief to you.
Yeah, it was, because last year they used to do that quite a lot, and they didn't do it this year, so it was great to see that it happened to them as well, at least once this year, because we had our share of mechanical problems. So, it's good. It balances out the championship.
Do you think you would have been able to get past Mika Häkkinen had he continued in the race?
Yeah, definitely, because he was starting to slide a little bit more and more. He had blistered his left rear tire, or something looked weird on it, and he was starting to slide more. So I think I could have made a move toward the end of the race, but it would have been very difficult.
Were you totally happy with your pit stop strategy of 2 stops?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was the right strategy. It's only that we lost a lot of time from lap 10 to 20, and in our first pit stop, else it would have been no problem.
Jacques, well done. Jean, you've been second here at Silverstone in 94 and 95, so it's a good result for you today?
Honestly, I'm really extremely happy because for the team, for everybody is very good, because we had some problems at the moment in qualifying. We cannot be really on a good position for the start, and we are always in a condition to compromise for the race. So one stop, he was very good at this stage.
Were you surprised to be sitting here today, considering you started 11th on the grid?
Of course, yes. It's a good surprise, because when you are doing a race with a lot of fuel like that, it looks like you are really slow, and you feel to not be in a good shape. And suddenly you see on the board your position going down, and to be second, it's amazing for me.
Now, Alex Wurz was pushing you pretty hard throughout the race. Were you worried about that?
Honestly, I was happy to be on the front of the first corner, because I knew before his capacity is very good, but my car was in a good shape. I had the possibility to keep this position, of course.
Now, Benetton are lying 3rd in the Constructors' Championship. Can we expect Benetton to be doing better in the next few races?
I hope so. I try to push all the team as much as possible, but everybody is doing already flat out the work, and we're waiting some new parts, and I'm really confident now for the high-speed high-speed circuits like Hockenheim. We are really on a good shape also with the engine, so that is in a good situation at the moment.
Well done, Jean.
Thank you.
Alex, only your 3rd Grand Prix and 3rd finish. That's a fantastic result for you.
Yeah, it's a very, very good result, and I'm really pleased. And since I saw these press conferences, I always thought, what would you say if you come here? Now I lost everything, but I want to thank the team for the really great strategy. Without this strategy, Jean and me wouldn't have been here. Of course, we have to drive it as well, and I'm really, really happy.
Now, you were pushing Jean pretty hard. Did you, at any stage, think you were going to get past him, or were you told not to?
I was looking for maybe an overlapping maneuver that he's hold up, but in the end, after the pit stop, when it was clear, I decided to keep back by myself because it would have been dangerous. At the beginning of the race, I struggled really with the car with oversteering because we ran a lot of fuel and it was snapping oversteering. I thought, oh, this will be a very hard race. But when I ran down the fuel and with the second set of tires, the car was in a very good shape, so I was able to follow Jean without any problems.
Can we expect to see you racing at the Hockenheimring in 2 weeks' time?
I don't know, that's a difficult question for me. It depends completely on the situation of Gerhard.
Now, Jacques, we go to Hockenheim and you're trailing Michael by 4 points. What are your feelings about going to Germany?
Well, it's great that we managed to get closer, mostly after the last 2 races we had. It's great to get back in the front and to eat some of those points back. But I don't think Hockenheim is a great track for us because it's slow downforce and slow corners. It's not where our car is at its best. But you know, we can fight fairly against Michael, and I think we should have a good battle.
Thank you, Jacques. Now, could we have some comments on the race in your own language?
Well, 3 very happy campers up there. Apologies for the world feed, the slight loss of sync. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we watch Jacques Villeneuve once again deposit lots of Moet and Chandon over his team. Welcome back to Silverstone. These were the scenes at the 59-lap Grand Prix here this afternoon. Great disappointment for some people. Michael Schumacher, of course. Joy for Jacques Villeneuve. Poor Mika Hakkinen and Eddie Irvine. There we see the first of the problems. And looking at the Benettons.
But I think it was absolutely superb to see the way the Williams has come back into a strong, commanding position, right? Made the championship much more exciting. I'm sure Irvine and Schumacher don't want it that way, but it certainly made it more exciting for the fans. So let's hoping for the next race. Very sad, though, for Mika Hakkinen, I thought.
I mean, Mika Hakkinen, everybody was in tears. For Michael Schumacher, first mechanical retirement of the year. But we're going to Germany in 2 weeks' time. That's going to see a revision. Jacques Villeneuve told us that the Hockenheimring circuit does not suit their car as well as Silverstone does. Eddie Irvine, another fine drive. Again, a disappointment from the same problem that afflicted Michael Schumacher. Jacques Villeneuve, of course, that loose wheel nut. We didn't know about that. Interesting what you learn in these drivers' press conferences.
Just shows you just have to be there, John. But nevertheless, it was a very exciting race. I think there was interest throughout the whole field. David Coulthard made it very interesting in the early part, but it was great at the end.
Folks, we hope you enjoyed this Grand Prix. It was a cracker. This is John Watson for Derek Bell and Jonathan Green saying thank you very much for watching it. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time in Hockenheim. This show has been a presentation of ESPN, worldwide leader in sports.